You know, when you think of Japan's Edo period, you probably picture samurai, geishas, maybe a cool woodblock print. You don't think about property taxes. But that's the thing about history. The real stories aren't always in the history books. They're right here. In the silence. This is Taishoji Temple. For over 250 years, from 1603 to 1868, this place stood as a quiet sentinel in Osaka Prefecture. It saw the entire Edo period unfold. The rise of the shoguns, the peace, the strict social order, and the incredibly creative, and frankly terrifying, ways people found to get around the rules. And let me tell you, the biggest rule you didn't want to break was the one about money. The Tokugawa shogunate taxed land. Own a big plot. Big tax bill. Simple. Unless you weren't technically the owner. See, the shogunate, in its infinite wisdom, decided that religious land was tax-exempt. A loophole. A giant, heavenly-sized loophole. So, what did the clever, tax-weary landowners do? They'd donate their land to a temple like this one. On paper, the land belonged to the Buddha. In reality, the original owner still lived on it, farmed it, and just paid a much smaller donation to the temple instead of a massive tax to the government. Everyone wins. Well, everyone except the shogun's tax collector. Taishoji, and hundreds of temples like it, became a shell corporation. A spiritual tax haven. For centuries, this quiet garden wasn't just a place of prayer, it was the center of a massive, nationwide financial conspiracy. It's kind of brilliant, right? The ultimate talk to my lawyer move, but your lawyer is a bodhisattva. But here's the twist no one considered. What happens when you play with the spiritual world like it's a ledger book? You can't just list the divine as a cosigner on your mortgage and expect no cosmic repercussions. The locals here have stories. Whispers passed down for generations.
They say that when you designate a place as sacred, you invite certain things to reside there. You create a container for power, whether you fill it with genuine faith or not. And for over 250 years, the power that filled Taishoji wasn't just devotion. It was deceit. It was paperwork. It was the quiet, anxious energy of thousands of people hiding their wealth from the government. That energy has to go somewhere. It doesn't just vanish. They say that if you walk these grounds at night, you don't hear chanting. You hear the frantic scratching of quills on paper. The soft, frantic counting of abacus beads. You see shadows that don't look like monks, but like clerks. Pale, exhausted, eternal clerks, forever managing the accounts of the dead. There's a legend of the Soroban Bozu, the Abacus Monk. A spirit not of a holy man, but of a corrupt official or a bookkeeper who got lost in the numbers. He's not malevolent in a traditional sense. He doesn't want to hurt you. He just wants to audit you. He'll appear as a faint figure in the mist, the click-clack of his abacus echoing from nowhere. He'll ask you questions. What is the value of your soul? List your sins as assets and liabilities. Can you account for your time? They say if you can't answer to his satisfaction, he adds you to the ledger. Just another line item in the temple's eternal, tax-free portfolio of the damned. It's a ghost story, sure. But what's the lesson? Maybe that systems have a memory. That when we bend the spiritual to serve the greedy, we create a kind of sickness that lingers long after the people are gone. Taishoji wasn't abandoned because people stopped believing in Buddha. It was abandoned because the loophole eventually closed. The money moved on. But the energy invited in by that centuries-old deception, that stayed. We used this place. We used the idea of the sacred to hide our earthly desires. And we left something behind that's still doing its job. Still accounting. Still collecting.
Want to turn your room into a horror den like mine? I listed some awesome creepy decor. I linked my top picks in the description. Set the haunted mood without burning your house down. Perfect for nighttime storytelling.
So the real question isn't whether the stories about this place are true. The real, chilling question is, in our world of offshore accounts, shell companies, and creative bookkeeping, what are we filling our modern temples with? And what is going to be left to count the cost? Okay, picture this, Japan, 1603. The wars are over. The shogun is in charge. It's peace, prosperity, and, seriously boring tax codes. Seriously, when you think of the Edo period, you don't think about the accountant samurai, do you? But that's where the real story is. It's always in the fine print. And this place? Taishoji Temple. This quiet, crumbling beauty in Osaka Prefecture? It wasn't just a house of prayer. For over 250 years, it was the ultimate side hustle. The most brilliant, quiet conspiracy in history. And it all revolved around one universal truth: nobody likes paying taxes. The shogunate taxed land. Big land, big tax. But they made one tiny, little exception: land owned by the gods. Religious property was tax-free. And the human brain, when presented with a loophole, will drive an entire spiritual bus through it. So, what's a wealthy landowner to do? Simple. You donate your land to a temple like Taishoji. On paper, it belongs to the Buddha. In reality, you still live there, you still farm it, you just pay a tiny, little, administrative fee to the temple instead of a massive chunk of your harvest to the guys with the swords. It's genius. Taishoji became a spiritual shell corporation. A divine tax haven. The monks were basically holy accountants, managing the portfolios of the pious and petrified for centuries. This garden wasn't just about finding Zen, it was about finding a write-off. The air must have been thick with the quiet satisfaction of pulling one over on the government. But that's the thing about cutting a deal with the divine: the terms and conditions are eternal. Because here's the horror twist they didn't see coming.
Whoa, are you still here? Not hidden under the blanket yet? Then hit that like button and share this video with a friend who swears they're not scared until they hear this part. Every click keeps Darkhour Diaries alive, bringing ye terrifying true stories, disturbing encounters, and chilling mysteries. Ye know, the stuff that keeps ye sleeping with the lights on. Now, back to the nightmare.
You can't just designate a place as sacred on a spreadsheet and expect the universe to just accept the paperwork. When you mark a plot of land as holy, you're sending up a flare. You're saying, something powerful lives here. And things, listen, the locals here don't tell stories of gentle ghosts. They tell stories of residue. The energy of all that deceit, all that anxiety, all that greedy relief, it didn't leave. It soaked into the wood, into the stone. It became part of the temple's new purpose. So the prayers that were whispered here weren't just for enlightenment. They were for not getting caught. The meditation wasn't for emptiness, it was for calculating this year's harvest down to the last grain of rice to hide from the assessor. That kind of energy, it congeals. They say now that if you're here alone on a night like this, the silence isn't empty. It's busy. You might hear the frantic, endless scratching of a quill on paper that isn't there. The soft, methodical click-clack of an abacus in an empty room. That's the legend of the Soroban Bozu, the Abacus Monk. He wasn't a real monk. He's a phantom, a manifestation of the temple's true purpose. A spirit of a bookkeeper who loved the numbers more than the nectar of enlightenment. He doesn't want to harm you. He just wants to balance you. He'll emerge from the mist, pale and tired, his eyes full of figures, and he'll ask you to account for yourself. What is your net worth? List your moral debts. Can you justify your existence as a profit or a loss? And if your internal ledger doesn't balance, well, you become a permanent entry. Another asset on the temple's spiritual balance sheet. Forever. It's a campfire story, but it's built on a terrifying truth. We use this place. We use the sacred as a shield for the profane. We invited the divine to be our co-conspirator in a 250-year-long fraud. And when the Edo period ended, when the loophole closed and the money vanished, we left. But the vibration we created, that relentless, greedy, meticulous energy, didn't. It's still here. It's still working. The office is closed, but the staff is still clocked in, forever. So the question this place leaves us with isn't about whether ghosts are real. The real, chilling question is about the ghosts we're creating right now. What are the modern Taishoji temples? What sacred things, community, trust, the truth itself, are we using as tax shelters for our own greed? What energy are we pouring into the foundations of our world with every lie, every fudged number, every clever, cynical loophole we exploit, and what exactly, do we think is going to be left behind to manage those accounts when we're gone?
Thanks for watching. Hit that like button and share this video with someone who loves a good scare. Every tap and share helps us bring ye more terrifying true stories, disturbing encounters, and chillin' mysteries. Tales designed to keep ye up at night. This is Dark Hour Diaries, where your nightmares find a voice. Arr!